2012, a researcher at the University of Toronto ran a neural network on two NVIDIA GTX 580S consumer gaming cards, the kind people bought to run Battlefield 3. The result was AlexNet. On one, it won the ImageNet competition by a margin so large that the second-place team thought the submission was an error. Jensen Huang understood immediately what had just happened. The chip he'd been selling to teenagers for first-person shooters was, underneath the marketing, one of the most powerful parallel computing instruments ever built. He didn't pivot, he accelerated. Quietly, methodically, over the next decade, he turned a graphics company into the most strategically important semiconductor business in human history. That's the story nobody tells when they make GPU tier lists. Because here's the thing. The gap between the cheapest GPU on this list and the most expensive one is not a performance gap. It is not a price gap. It is a civilizational gap. Same architecture, completely different realities. Someone's already typing 4090 enjoyer here in the comments. We'll get there. You're not at the top of this hierarchy. Level 1. Integrated graphics. The GPU you never chose. This is the GPU that lives inside your CPU. You didn't select it. You didn't budget for it. It arrived with the processor, and it does exactly what it was designed to do. Enough and nothing more. The Intel UHD 770 chips inside 13th and 14th generation core desktop chips. The AMD Radeon 680M sits inside the Ryzen 7 6800U and its successors. Both are real GPUs in the technical sense. They have shader cores, memory controllers, display outputs. The 680M will actually run some games at 720p on low settings, which is more than the UHD 770 will reliably attempt. Neither of them was built for you to push. The memory is shared. The bandwidth is throttled. The thermal envelope belongs to the CPU first and the GPU second, which means the moment you ask for sustained graphical work, the integrated chip begins negotiating with itself about what it can afford to do. WHO is here, someone who bought a laptop for spreadsheets and Zoom calls, someone who inherited a desktop and uses it for email, someone who doesn't know what a GPU is, has never had a reason to know, and will never be watching this video. The computing is real, the ceiling is immediate. Level 2. Entry. Discrete. 3. Where GPUs actually begin. This is where GPUs actually begin, where you made a choice, spent money on that choice, and received something the integrated chip was constitutionally incapable of delivering. The RTX 3050, the RX 6600, street prices between $150 and $250, depending on when you're reading this and what the market is doing. These are real GPUs with dedicated VRAM 8 GB in most configurations, real rasterization pipelines, real display memory that doesn't borrow from your system RAM every time the workload spikes. The RX 6600 runs most titles at 1080p, medium to high settings, 60 frames per second, without complaint. That sentence sounds modest. In practice, it is the entire baseline of a playable PC gaming experience, delivered for a quarter of what people spent 5 years ago to achieve it. WHO is here, the first-time builder. The person who spent 3 weeks on Reddit cross-referencing price-to-performance charts, who now knows what VRAM means and why bandwidth matters, who made a deliberate decision rather than accepting a default. They run a benchmark on launch day. They hit 67 frames per second at high settings. For the first time, the machine feels like it was built for them, because it was. What this unlocks isn't performance. It's the understanding that choices have consequences. That awareness that hardware decisions are decisions changes everything they buy downstream. Level 3. The sweet spot, where serious begins. This is where GPUs stop feeling like a workaround and start operating as actual infrastructure. The RTX 4070, the RX 7800 XT. Price range $400 to $600. These cards run 1440p at high settings without asking permission. The RTX 4070 has 12 gigabytes of GDDR6X. The RX 7800 XT carries 16 gigabytes of GDDR6 at a memory bandwidth that embarrasses cards that cost twice as much from 2 generations prior. Both support upscaling technologies DLSS 3 and FSR 3 respectively that have matured to the point where the argument against them has mostly collapsed. This is the level where 80% of serious PC gamers land and never feel compelled to leave, not because they couldn't afford more, but because they ran the numbers and found no remaining inefficiency to correct. At 1440p, 144 Hz, high settings, a 4070 is doing everything the display can show. The frames it cannot produce. No human eye in this use case would register anyway. WHO is here, the person who made a rational decision, not an emotional one, who calculated price per frame across 4 GPU generations, identified the inflection point, and stopped there. They are not chasing the frontier. They are standing at the optimal position on the curve. It stops being a component. It starts being a platform, level 4 enthusiast territory, where experience has independent value. Below this level, people buy GPUs for utility. At this level, the experience itself is the point. The RTX 4080, the RX 7900 XTX. Price range $800 to $1,100. The 4080 carries 16 gigabytes of GDDR6X on a 256-bit bus. The 7900 XTX runs 24 gigabytes of GDDR6 and at rasterized 4K workloads, trades blows with cards that nominally cost more. Both deliver native 4K gaming, not upscaled, not interpolated, native at frame rates that make the resolution feel earned rather than compromised. This is also where ray tracing stops being a toggle people turn off after 5 minutes. At this level, the hardware is sufficient to run global illumination in modern titles without the frame rate becoming an argument against it. That matters because ray tracing is not a visual effect. It is a rendering methodology, and at lower GPU tiers, it has been an incomplete implementation. Here it is finally what it was designed to be. Who is here? The person for whom the rig is the hobby, not a means to an end. The monitor is a 4K OLED. The chair has lumbar adjustment they've actually configured. This is someone who researches thermal paste and thinks about cable management. For them, the GPU is not a utility purchase. It is an expression of the build. From here, the numbers start separating gaming hardware from something else entirely. Level 5, flagship consumer. The end of the ceiling. The RTX 4090, one card. $1,600 to $2,000, depending on the AIB partner and the current state of supply. 16,384 CUDA cores. 24 gigabytes of GDDR6X. 1,008 gigabytes per second of memory bandwidth. A 450-watt TDP that requires a power connector most PSUs shipped without until recently. The defining feature of the 4090 is not its performance number. It is the elimination of the performance ceiling as a meaningful concept for any consumer display task you could name. 4K, 240 Hz, maximum settings, ray tracing enabled, DLSS, quality. The 4090 is the only card that treats that scenario as routine. It is not straining. It is not thermal throttling. It is doing exactly what you asked and waiting for more. Running a 4090 on a 1080p monitor is like driving a Porsche 911 GT. 3 to a school pickup. The machine is technically fulfilling the task. The task is not using the machine. WHO is here. Someone who stopped justifying the purchase a long time ago. Not because they're wealthy, though some are, but because the question of whether it's worth it stopped being a question they found interesting. They bought it because it was the best available option, and they make decisions the same way across every category of their life. Everything above this level is a choice made for reasons that have nothing to do with gaming. Level 6. Workstation, class, compute, not graphics. At this level, the GPU is no longer a gaming card. It is a compute instrument, and the distinction is not marketing language, it is engineering specification. The NVIDIA RTX 6000 ADA generation. The AMD Radeon Pro W7900, prices $4,000 to $8,000. These cards carry ECC memory error correcting code, which detects and corrects single-bit memory errors in real time. In a gaming context, a single corrupted memory operation might produce a visual artifact for one frame. In a medical imaging render, a 3D animation pipeline, or a finite element analysis, it produces a wrong answer. The workstation GPU exists because wrong answers are unacceptable. They also carry ISV certifications, independent software vendor validations from Autodesk, Siemens, Dassault Systems. These aren't marketing stickers. They are documented test results, confirming that the card produces mathematically correct output in professional software environments. The RTX 4090 does not have them. It was not designed for environments where correctness is audited. WHO is here. VFX studios running Houdini simulations overnight. Medical imaging departments processing MRI reconstruction pipelines. Engineering firms running structural analysis on components that will go into aircraft. They don't appear in GPU tier lists because they don't visit GPU tier lists. A consumer GPU is built to run hard for an hour. A workstation GPU is built to run hard for a year. That is a different product. It costs accordingly. Level 7. Data center compute. The substrate of intelligence. This isn't a GPU. This is energy policy with tensor cores. The NVIDIA H100, $25,000 to $40,000 per unit, depending on configuration, SXM5 or PCIe, and whether you're buying on the open market or waiting 18 months for allocated supply. The H200 followed with 141 gigabytes of HBM3E memory and memory bandwidth that crossed 3 terabytes per second. The Blackwell B100 and B200 arrived after that, at numbers that make the H100 look like the entry point it has now become. These are not purchased individually. They are deployed in racks of 8, connected by NVLink at 900 gigabytes per second bidirectional bandwidth per GPU. A single DGX H100 system, 8 cards, 1 chassis lists at roughly $300,000. The clusters that train frontier AI models contain tens of thousands of these units. The power consumption of a full H100 training cluster exceeds what a small city block draws. The cost of a single large model training run, in compute alone, is measured in the tens of millions of dollars. The United States classified these chips as strategic assets and imposed export controls restricting their sale to China, Russia, and other designated territories. TSMC, which manufactures them in Taiwan on 4-nanometer process nodes, is now a geopolitical object of the same category as oil refineries and satellite networks. These are not GPUs. They are the physical substrate of the AI economy. They are the hardware layer underneath every large language model, every image synthesis system, every autonomous driving stack that exists or is being built. The country that controls enough of them doesn't just win the AI race. It writes the rules for what comes after. Step back from the tier list for a moment. What you just watched was not a hardware guide. It was a single argument traced across 7 price points. The commodification of cognition. The GPU began as a chip for rendering triangles in real time. It became, without anyone formally deciding this, the most important compute architecture in the history of artificial intelligence. The person with integrated graphics and the data center operator with 1,000 H100 seconds are doing the same thing. They are offloading computation to silicon. One is rendering a spreadsheet. The other is building the next version of intelligence itself. The hardware is different by 4 orders of magnitude. The underlying act is identical. Every other industry sells you a product. The GPU industry sells you the ability to think faster than your own biology allows. Jensen Huang understood that in 2012 when he saw what 2 GTX 580S had done to a neural network benchmark. Most people still haven't caught up. If this was useful, subscribe. I break down how things actually work, not how the spec sheet describes them. See you in the next one.